So, morning, folks are rolling in. Gee, I tell you what, it's 2 minutes past 8. Where have you all been for the last 3 minutes? So, you got to get onto these sessions in time to catch on the real interesting stuff before we start recording. So, welcome all, welcome those I haven't said welcome to. Good morning to Donovan, Nozipo, Steve, and the rest. So, all on board this morning. Lee. Stimulus or something. I can't recall. Was it about getting excited or not getting excited? I don't know. You just have to kick us off and tell us where we're going this morning, because I'm lost.
Thanks, Ivan. I don't think you lost. I think you're in exactly the right place. We like you where you are. Thank you very much.
And stay there. Yeah.
Yeah. Stay. So welcome everybody. We had fun yesterday talking about names and what do names mean, and it goes back to so if this is what you are called, and it represents something of your heritage, your parents' investment in you. Then what does that say about you? So that's really what prompted the thinking around this morning is, so who are you? And what I was watching, as I mentioned yesterday, I was watching on Discovery Channel, the British explorer Ed Stafford introducing his series, and the series was Into the Unknown. And it is fascinating because he gets an image from the International Space Station that is some anomaly. They look at this image and they can't identify it. They don't know what it is. It's just a white lines or a strange cone or something like that. And he says, okay, I'll go and check it out. And he heads out halfway with the team, halfway on it by himself, with nothing but a GPS, first aid box, and a GoPro, and a drone, and so he heads out. But when he was introducing the series, he used this, and I was captured by how he introduced himself. He said, "I come alive, I feel alive when," and he went on to say, "I feel alive when I'm going into the unknown, what frustrates me is when people say the earth is now, it's done, there's nothing left to explore." And so I thought, well, that would be a good way for us to describe ourselves, because his bringing together what brings him alive and what frustrates him has resulted in this incredible exploration venture. And what does it mean for us when we say, when I feel alive when, and what frustrates me is? So it's in answer to those two statements, those filling in those sentences that we're going to talk around this morning. And for me, what makes me come alive, what I feel most alive when I am creating learning environments. And that for me is when I'm facilitating, whether it's even on this platform, connecting with people, learning and hearing and listening to different people, or even writing. And I love writing. I realized it's a fairly new realization for me, is that even writing how to bring something together so people go on a learning journey is something that makes me come alive. And it's because I'm learning too, so that it contributes. I love that learning process that I'm then able to pass on to others. And then what frustrates me is disorder. And so I am constantly working towards plans and lists and things that create order out of disorder. And so creating a project management process to ensure that things get done in the right way and well, not in the right, but certainly in an ordered fashion. And even yesterday, I spent time just going through something, just sending an email with this list of things that need to be done so that everybody knows what's required of them. So that's me. And so now I'll leave it over to you. What makes you come alive? What frustrates you?
Thanks, Lee. Yeah. What frustrates me is project plans and order and all of those good things. No, not really. But yeah, sometimes we've got folk that are supposed to be slotting into project plans, but just create complete disorder. So I don't know who I'd be referring to there, but certainly not you, Lee. So right, I think it must be Trevor. So let's go to Trevor first.
Well, you'll be interested to know that I actually did some homework last night because I'm getting constantly embarrassed by Ed here, who does all of his homework. So I thought those were two compelling questions. So I actually wrote them down, and because my memory is failing, Ed can't remember where I've got to go and meet people on the run. This is what I wrote. I feel most alive when I have the opportunity to climb further up the mountain. My little metaphor for expanding energy to achieve something new, and then to find a neat viewpoint, to sit back in pleasant tiredness, to relax and enjoy the view, and to think. So just thinking about that question was, man, I love doing things that are upward moving, that make you tired. You get higher than you were before you started out, before yesterday, and then you sit down, have a look at the view. You can look back over where you came from. You can look forward as to where you can go, and just to think, and then do it again. And then I wrote, I get frustrated when, and there were three things, so bear with me here. When I struggle to do the simple things that others appear able to do. It annoys the hell out of me when I see Ivan able to do little tweaks on technical things, and he knows what I'm referring to. I got involved in the thing that said in 10 minutes you can conquer the world with this software program. I think I spent about 10 days trying to open the first little link to get me into it, and then I gave up and I sent it to Ivan. Number two, I get frustrated when I see talented, skilled people complain about something that affects their lives, and then they do nothing. And that, you can actually sit down with these type of people. They can complain and they can turn around and say, man, I need help. And you can turn around and say, well, look, here's a couple of alternatives. And I go back and just sit on their backsides and keep complaining. But I don't get frustrated for too long because that's when I get into my stuff off mentality. And it doesn't take too long for me to actually get to the point where I turn around and say, hey, stuff off. And if you haven't pushed me to that particular point, there's hope for you. Number three, I try to simplify my life. So I get frustrated when I try to simplify my life and I'm confronted by this bureaucratic paperwork and complex regulations. So those people owe me 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and I'm really struggling to even count to 3 at the moment as I get older. So it's now down to 1, 2, 2.5, and that's it. So that also puts me into a sort of stuff off mode. If you put too much paperwork in front of me, too much bureaucratic stuff that turns around, and I'll give you an example of that. Basically, my stuff off mode says, look, get out of my way, or get run over, or stuff it. I'm going up the mountain further so that I can go and find a place to think and just enjoy the view. Or I'll go around you, I'll go under. So my summary of all of this, the example of that is yesterday I got frustrated for about 30 seconds, and then I said stuff off, and I went, and that example was, Jasper will recognize it, he's organized for me to have a discussion slot on an internet radio station, and all well and fine. I'm ready to do it, ready to go. And then they sent me stuff in a PDF format that I couldn't blooming well open, and it asked me for 100,000 questions for what? I'm going to tell you what we're all about. I'm not going to write an essay and all that sort of thing. And that put me in a very bad mood. So Jasper, you might have to step in on that little interview. And I think my summary of all of that is just move people, man. I prefer imperfect activity. Where there's disorder and disarray all over the place, but you're moving, versus perfect inactivity, so not getting things done. So does that help you, Lee?
Okay, we're all sitting perfectly still and behaving ourselves and making sure we don't do anything wrong now. Right. Okay, I think we have to go to the accountants after that little lot. So Ed, over to you.
Well, for once, I didn't have to do any preparation because someone had already done it for me. There's a guy, Simon Kelly, who films the Kalahari Akrabi's Extreme Marathon. And he wrote a song about the event, which totally encapsulates how I feel. And I'll just read you the first 3 or 4 lines. I want to go where the sun rises, where the river flows and the quiver trees grow. I want a place I know my soul will revive. I want to go where the rocks and the cliffs rise up to the trail. I want to go through the space into the setting sun. It's here I feel alive, with a challenge to survive. And that to me is how I feel every time I'm there. It's that challenge to survive. And I think survive is probably too a strong word, but I think it's a challenge that makes me feel alive. And it doesn't have to be a physical one. Yesterday, my daughter sent me a link to an article and said, Dad, this doesn't quite seem right. Can you have a look at it and tell me what's going on? And I enjoyed the challenge of finding out where this information had come from, why the information was correct, what was behind the fact it was incorrect, what was the correct information. So I think anything that's a challenge, I like. But particularly, I like being in nature, because this morning when I was lying in bed waiting for the alarm to go off, and I heard a seagull making a cry, and that just made me feel alive as well. So nature makes me feel alive. And then I thought about the frustrated, and I don't really get frustrated, because the meaning of frustration is to stop, or being frustrated is not achieving your aims, your purposes. And if something has the opportunity to frustrate me, I just go around it, as Trevor said. It annoys me sometimes that people misrepresent things, like they've done in the article my daughter sent me, but it doesn't frustrate me because I went about correcting it. I contacted the publishers, I contacted the scientists that wrote the article, I contacted other people and did something about it. So what makes me feel alive is a challenge, and nothing really frustrates me because I don't let it stand in my way. Yes, I get annoyed by technology and I get annoyed by people that don't do as they said they were going to do, but I work my way around it. And then I thought, well, actually, not every time can you be challenged. And there are times when I'm really alive, and that's a bit like Trevor, perhaps, sitting on top of his mountain. There's a little wood on Dartmoor, a very old, ancient wood. And sometimes I just go there and sit. And I feel really alive just sitting there in amongst the trees, in amongst the moss, in amongst the lichen. I took my daughter there once and she said it was like a Disney movie. And I said, no. The Disney movie is like this. So, yeah, I think nature is what makes me really excited, but challenge is what I thrive on. That's my thoughts.
Great, thanks, Ed. Yeah, I love love nature as well. All right. So Jasper, let's get across to you next.
Hi, morning. What I realized is as I get older, the peaks and valleys are starting to come less and less. So I don't get overly excited and I don't get overly frustrated like in the beginning. But probably very much like Lee, I also love being in situations where it's about thinking about the future, creating, planning with like-minded people, I must say, because the frustration comes when you sit with non-like-minded people. And then also that sense of, my frustration is sometimes when that sense of feeling out of control. And the feeling out of control comes when you don't work with the right people. Things are not moving forward, or you don't have all the resources in place yet. And then a bit like Trevor, I'm probably a bit better on mastering technology, but my frustration levels are also very high. I've got a friend who loves technology, and last night I found myself in a discussion with him. I'm asking some help from him on designing something, and he says, but it's easy, and he takes me by the second easy, I wanted to cancel the interview because it's easy for him, it's not easy for me. And then also bureaucracy. I think that's probably what annoys me the most is this mentality of some officials, and they can't think straight. They are so scared of rules that they rather think nothing and do nothing, and bureaucracy. So I would leave it there. So that's my frustration and my excitement.
Great, thanks, Jasper. Yeah, paperwork, isn't it a lovely thing? Yeah, Steve, let's get across to you next.
Thanks, Ivan. It's hard to prioritize just one or two, but I've thought about, I think, one of each. I feel most alive when I'm able to help people face their deepest and darkest spaces. And I've been able to do quite a lot of therapeutic work during the lockdown. And that is, strangely enough, a space that I come really alive in. I really, really enjoy being able to walk alongside people as they face things that they haven't been able to before, or weren't willing to, or just very painful and difficult for them. And so something comes alive in me. It sounds slightly sadistic, but it's not the pain and trauma so much as people being able to face it and then come out the other side. I think that brings me alive. So let me qualify it that way. And then also to do with people, I'm most frustrated when in groups of people we behave in ways that place these kind of social restrictions and hierarchies and their power dynamics at play. And I see it most commonly in religious institutions, which I work with quite a bit. And there's all sorts of different kinds of oppressive thinking and limitations and boundaries put to people. And it's not your usual healthy relational boundaries where you have mutual agreement between parties. It's often very unhealthy, very pathological, actually. And people get hurt. And I find that very, very frustrating, that individuals are not willing to look at their lives and assess how they're behaving towards each other and the damage that they're doing at a social level. So I find that very frustrating, both having experienced it myself and watching other people experience it. I think there should be better ways for us to learn to relate to each other. And we don't seem to do so well as people. Yeah, so those are the two I picked out to share with you guys this morning.
Great, thanks, Steve. Right, Caroline, let's get across to you next.
Sorry, getting the mute button, finding the cursor. Hi, everyone. Okay, so the thing I picked out, well, I've actually got two things where I feel most alive. There are probably more, but the ones I've chosen. Recently, in the last few years, something that I've done a little bit of is coaching maths to some of the local domestic workers' children. I love maths. I love education. I think education is one of the keys to moving our country forward. But I was a teacher for 4 years, but I don't think I was a particularly good teacher. But teaching one-on-one in a subject that a lot of people struggle with, and where, you know, I feel I can really, yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it. I mean, sometimes, you know, it's a lot of the foundation is really, really poor. And so sometimes it's quite frustrating and you don't, you know, it's hard to see some progress. But it's also, there's one girl in particular that I coached in matric, and then she repeated and coached another 6 months. And it's the mentoring aspect of it as well. You know, I felt as though I was playing a part in mentoring her, and it was very fulfilling. And then the second thing I feel alive in is similar to what some of you have said, is being in nature. I just love being in nature. It's where I feel most close to God. I love hiking. I've done a little bit of trail running in a very minor, non-extreme way. But I love being in nature. It feeds my soul. And then what frustrates me is the negativity of so many people at the moment, which is understandable. There's a lot to be negative about, and I do get that, you know, people are negative and always complaining because things are going badly in our country. They really are. But I just find it can suck you down, and it's not productive, and it frustrates me. I recently heard an interview by Bruce Whitfield. He's written a book you probably know called The Upside of Down. And he said the reason he wrote the book was because he'd gone to so many dinner parties where everybody was complaining, and that's all they had to do. And he got sick of it, and he thought, you know, so he wrote The Upside of Down, which is basically, I haven't read it yet, but it's basically that even when things look absolutely terrible and everything's bad, there's always opportunity, and it's the people who succeed are the people who look for the opportunities. Yeah, and so that's what I want to do. I really love positive movements, such as the Good Things Guy, this Wisdoms group, which, you know, full of people who are passionate about life and want to do something. I want to build. I don't want to just look at the negative and feel like there's nothing that can be done. And I mean, that was also the thing of cleaning up that river that so inspired me. I mean, I've only done it once, so I'm no hero, but the woman who started that movement, that river is in such a bad state that it would be so easy to just say, well, this is how it is. We can't possibly do anything. It's up to the government, and they're not going to do anything. So that's the end of it. But you can do something positive, and that's what I want to do, rather. Okay, that's me.
Great, thanks, Caroline. Right, Stella, let's get across to you next.
Morning, everyone. So I feel very alive when I'm at the dentist. Okay, now that was my joke for the morning. No, so I feel I feel alive when I can laugh with other people. It is just, laughter is such a life-giving thing to me. And I always try to see the humor in things and the funny side of things. So laughter is a big thing of my life, personally for me. And then second of all, I can very relate to Caroline about the teaching. I always wanted to be a teacher, but life didn't turn out that way. And now recently, I've been helping other people, specifically with accounting, explaining accounting, and that I felt so alive when they say, "Oh, is that what they mean?" or "Oh, is that how it works?" So I've actually made a decision, and I've signed up with these tutoring people for an extra revenue stream as well, to do some personal tutoring. So I'll keep you posted on how that is going, but I think that that's going to be very nice for me. And then I feel so frustrated when people are ungrateful, and they don't see, even in this negative time, there's always something, even if it's a small thing, that you can be grateful for. So ungrateful people frustrates the hell out of me. And then I'm with you, Trevor, on the struggle with the computer. The other day, my printer all of a sudden didn't want to work. I reinstalled, and then it didn't want to work. And then I just gave up. And a couple of days later, I just went in, and there it worked. So that frustrates me terribly. And then the last thing that also frustrates me is people that's disrespectful to other people. I cannot handle it when people are disrespectful to other people. Yeah, that's me for today.
Thanks, Stella. You know, in the IT industry, we've got a saying when people struggle with their technology, it goes like this: it says, "Faulty user, replace."
I think that is what it's the operator, it's not the technology. I agree.
Yeah, so in effect, both Stella and Caroline, we must introduce you to a chap from the UK by the name of John Martin. He's a magician, and he uses his magic to help people understand maths. So he does that as a special thing on the side of his normal magic work. So I think we must connect you with John and see if you can use him locally with your teaching. I think it would be great. So Nazipa, let's get across to you next. Nazipa,
hi, hi, sorry. Morning, everyone. For me, I come alive when I'm teaching, when I'm facilitating. I feel in my element, like I become a whole new person. Like I always say, sometimes half the stuff I say when I facilitate, I only realize later. And I always think, wow, was that me? Where did that come from? So that it brings out a whole new me when I'm teaching people. But also the beauty of it is sometimes as I teach, like the more I teach and repeat these things, the more I learn as well out of whatever it is I'm teaching. I come alive as well when I'm in water. Like I'm sitting now, I can't wait for September because I'm thinking around mid-September I should be able to jump back into the pool. When I'm in water, I mean, I think it was Caroline that mentioned something earlier about how nature makes it feel closer to God. That's how I feel about water. Like when I'm in water, water is just, it's my element. I can't explain my love affair with water. It's just, it just is. I love water like that. I probably would choose water over a lot of things. I choose water over a party on any given day. I get frustrated when people use their positions to mistreat others, to impose certain things on other people. It bothers me a lot. For as far back as I can remember, I used to always get frustrated. And at that time, I was still a schoolgirl in a school bus. And I would see how Metro Police in Durban would, they would be removing, like, the street vendors, obviously because of permits issues or whatever the case was. But my blood would boil. I can't tell you how many times I would feel my blood boiling, and I was a little girl in a school bus. and there's nothing you can do. You just watch it. And at a later stage, as I grew up, then I started, when I see it happening, I'd go there and want to find out, but what is it that they've done? Like, what would pain me is how they would end up losing the low stock that they have, that they're trying to make a living out of, because it gets confiscated as they get moved out of there. And those are the things that really, really would frustrate me. Just the other day, just this week as well, I had, just back to that point of people using their positions to silence you or to do anything. With this work, this training I'm supposed to be doing with a client next week. So this week I've been busy with interviewing the participants for this. And my contract with the client is such that he will provide.
Oops, you muted yourself, Nazipa, somehow. Nazipa, you muted yourself there.
Is I then go back to them after interviews to say, listen, the venue is not quite kosher. There's a problem with the projector. There's a problem with, like, I explain everything that's wrong. And the client says, no. You are spoiled. I'm going to cancel this training.
Oh, you managed to mute yourself again somehow, Nazipa. I'm not too sure.
What do you mean you're going to cancel the training? I'm spoiled because I'm raising things that he must do. Those are things that I never understand. I mean, obviously it's my client, but I dropped that call thinking, no, if it wasn't for the fact that I need money right now, I would have said, cancel the training. But I thought, okay, I can't let him cancel the training. I need it. So I must now see what I do with myself along those issues. So those are some of the things that get me stressed and frustrated. Thank you.
Thanks, Nazipa. Donovan, let's get across to you next.
Morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
You're a bit soft, Donovan. Yeah, the sound is a bit soft.
Okay, let me just try and improve my sound. Hope you can hear me now.
It's a bit better, yeah.
Yeah. So, being analytical, I actually thrive on solving problems. Using my analytical skills. I love, working through figures, working, through information and coming up with solutions. And then at the same time, my frustration is if I can't implement those solutions, maybe because of bureaucracy or whatever other challenges, like what Jasper was saying, that's frustrating, not being able to implement the solution which I came up with. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Donovan. Right, Samantha, let's get across to you next.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Good. Yeah, so I've just joined this morning not really knowing what the topic is. So I've been listening to everybody and it's been really interesting. I think I'm sitting here thinking what makes me come alive, and I think it's such a layered question because alive can be a lot of things. Is it the inspired and creative part of alive? Is it the calm and reflective part of alive? Like there are different parts of alive that come alive, if that makes any sense. So I think when it's about calm and reflection, then definitely I get the nature thing, and specifically the sea. There's something about being near the sea that is just so calming and just makes you feel like connected. And then I think if it's the creative and alive, then I'm in a very fortunate position to do as a career something that I love. And what I do is all about perceptions and understanding how other people see the world and how other people think and feel. So that's just when you start to really understand what's going on in other people's worlds and lives, and that really does inspire me. But the opposite of that is where the frustration comes in. So I'm becoming less and less tolerant as I get older of small-mindedness, and sometimes I have to remind myself that is a world that some people live in, that is their world, and that they're not trying to be small-minded or arrogant, or this is their world. So I have to try and balance that the whole time, because I'm inspired by kind of dialectical thinking, and let's put ourselves into other people's spaces and let's try and understand things. And the reality is that so I think small-mindedness makes me you know, very, very frustrated. So I'm trying to challenge myself to be more patient, I think. And that's it for now.
Right, thanks, Samantha. Right, Kevin, let's get across to you next.
Hi, good morning, everyone. What brings me alive? I actually gave some thought to this last night, which is unusual for me. What gets me alive is going out, setting foot outside the front door to go out on a run. I know it sounds basic, but I can feel down and naff when I wake up in the morning. But once I've set foot outside that door, you know, it's different life. I'm all with it. It's even better if at the same time I can be leading a small group of colleagues and helping others along as well. I'm leader with my running club, and last night was great. First time out as a leader since lockdown. We're back at the club. So yeah, getting out the door, getting on a run, helping a few people. Can't think of much better than that. Frustrating. I feel like frustration, negativity in general, negative people. You can be negative with the lot. You try and help someone, and with what you've got to offer them to get them in a better position. And they instantly say, "Oh, no, that won't work. That's a scam. That's no good for me." Before even having a look at what you're offering, and then they go back into their shell, back to the negative self. It's just that unopenness to be at least have a look at something before you're negative about it. That really does my head in. so yeah, that's me for this morning.
Right, thanks, Kevin. Right, Cecile, let's get across to you.
The things that make me, sorry, my video is not working. The things that make me alive is I love dancing. I love Latin American dancing. And I haven't done it for some time. And just getting on that dance floor with a partner and just getting it right, and it's just flowing with the music and flowing with the steps is just the most fantastic feeling in the world. Then the second thing, and I guess maybe the karate katas things have taken over from there, but it's not as enjoyable. It's actually quite scary because it's not with a partner. And then the second thing that makes me absolutely alive is we rode in and that I realized once, we rode in the Crater Cruise bicycle race once, and we stayed overnight. We stayed on a farm next to a river, and we had a little tent, and virtually 3 meters away from the entrance of our tent was the river running across from in front of the tent, and just lying in that tent at night and listening to the river running 3 meters away from you, and waking up in the morning with nature around it is most fantastic feeling. And then work-wise, I guess a satisfied client after a project has been completed makes me feel alive and good for a few seconds. What frustrates me is for the last 3-4 days, my PA's computer just, the morning we come here on the Tuesday morning, and now it's dead. It's just not working. So to get the IT people in, we tried everything. It's just not starting. So it's so frustrating. The second thing that frustrates me is when you are working with people in this PPE thing, that's hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. We want quotes, we want whatever. When you've bent over backwards to give them quotes, nothing happens. Then all of a sudden they are missing in action. They are in the witness protection program. They are completely missing in action. And that's so frustrating. And the supplier is waiting for an answer, and all of a sudden the buyer is just nowhere. It doesn't happen like this in real business in life. And the other thing that frustrates the hell out of me is when I look out this window, and I've been sitting at my desk at the computer all day. I'm so frustrated that I still have to sit here, that I can't be out in the nature or out in my garden or just out, not in front of the computer. So that is the other thing that frustrates the hell out of me.
Right, thanks, Cecile. Right, Mpumelelo, wrap up the morning for us with your thoughts.
Good morning, everyone. I have to say, it's actually quite nice to see you guys in the morning. And yeah, Stella, your laughter is contagious. I cannot help laugh when you're laughing anyway. Yeah, what brings me to life? Getting new information or learning anything new, I really get excited on that. And it's not just information, anything new. If I'm in a place that I've never been before, meeting someone I have never met before, being in a risk, anything that's new, and especially new learning, that's so new information, that gets me excited. Understanding gets me excited. So understanding that information that I'm learning. So having those aha moments where you go, oh, now I get it. I really, really enjoy that. I enjoy I enjoy wisdom as well. Anything that's got to do with great thinking, crystallizing ideas, any wisdom, I really enjoy that. And then I enjoy imparting that knowledge. It's mostly been through speaking. But now writing is coming on board as a form of imparting knowledge. I'm starting to learn and enjoy that space a little bit. But I'm also say I enjoy creativity, anything that has got to do with arts. Music is top of the list. I did say I was a musician for quite some time in my life. So music brings me to life, art of any kind, drawing, humor as well. I enjoy humor a lot. I spend hours and hours just watching humor. What frustrates me, I get frustrated by what I would think is wrong decision making, because I tend to think I have this prediction or predictive abilities where I can see that a decision is going to lead to this particular scenario. So I see things before they happen, and I get frustrated when I see a wrong decision being made. Having said all that, I get frustrated by implementation. I guess that's why I'm always into new things, but completing them, because implementation feels like it takes forever and I want to get onto a new thing already. So yeah, if anyone wants to be my right-hand person to help with implementation, I'll be the happiest man in the world. That's me.
Vulela, I'd offer, but I've already got one of you and Trevor, so I don't need another one of you. So that's what frustrates the hell out of me. So anyway, on that note, Lee, I think I'll hand back to you and set us up for tomorrow. Now you muted, Lee.
You want to say quickly what makes you alive and frustrates you, Ivan? I got the frustration though. What keeps alive?
Yeah, look, I think people have said it. I love nature. I love photography in nature, and especially the little things. You know, everybody wants to photograph the big five. Yeah, it's nice to see the big five, but I love the really small stuff. So I can get totally lost in photographing tiny little spiders and flies and things that people normally don't see at all, and so that that I really enjoy, and I love achieving in whatever area it is that I'm working in. So whether it's writing a system, developing a program, trying to get Trevor's websites right frustrates the hell out of me, because he's so pedantic when it comes to the capitals and the lowercase and the positioning of things. But when you get it right, I go out and celebrate for about 3 days after that, and then I come back and he frustrates the hell out of me all over again. So yeah, but yeah, no, those are the sorts of things that I enjoy. So that's me.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you so much. Well, thanks everybody. It's been so good just to, as I said, get to look at who you are. And I'm just wondering if for tomorrow we just step one step outside of ourselves. We've been talking about what makes us come alive, and that very often our frustrations are around other people's negativity or small-mindedness, or the things that people do around us that create a certain amount of frustration. And I'm just wondering if there's enough in these people's lives that is making them come alive. And I think also of our context at the moment, and Cecile saying, I'm sitting in front of my desk and there's this world out there that I feel frustrated that I'm not getting into. And so my question for tomorrow is, how do we create environments or enable other people to thrive? So not just ourselves, but what is it? Is there something that we can do to just in the next step in our environment help this a culture or an environment or a space that allows others or ensures or enables other people to thrive. And I'd love to just hear your thoughts. Is it possible? If so, what can we do?
Wonderful, great. Thanks, Lisa. The first thought that comes to mind is get out there with your cattle prods and start energizing it.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll work, Ivan.
Absolutely. All right, have a great day. Don't get electrocuted in the process, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts in the morning. Go well, everyone.